Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 4 just dropped. I just watched it and they killed Dobby. Hey everyone, this is Digital Charcuterie. My name is James. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new to the channel and a fan of Peacemaker and the DCU, hit that subscribe button. I talk about it and discuss it with you all the time on this channel. And I want to know your thoughts on Episode 4, need I say door, of Peacemaker Season 2 in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts. Good, bad, ugly, whatever they are. They could be different from mine. It doesn't matter. We're going to have a conversation and discuss it. This is all subjective, and that's what makes it fun. And this episode, honestly, might have been my favorite of the season. Is that a hot take? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. It was 38 minutes long, which is just enough for my attention span to be okay with it. No, look, I've actually enjoyed all the episodes so far, but this episode, there was just something about it that had me just reeled in from start to finish, didn't want to stop. And when it did, I did feel like there was a completion enough for me to feel satisfied with what I got in it. It starts 35 years ago. The episode pulls us all the way back to the origins of the QUC, Peacemaker's helmet, how it all starts to come together. We understand now that they're hunting in the woods. The dad, Augie Smith, his brother Keith, and Christopher Smith, they're all in the woods hunting, and you hear something, and you see a creature scurrying about out there in the woods, and Augie Smith takes out Dobby, or whatever the heck it was. It looked like this might be James Gunn kind of letting in like imps and whatnot. We all know James Gunn has an obsession with Batmite. He keeps talking about Batmite, how much he loves Batmite. Are we going to see Batmite? You know what? I would say no, but also probably 1,000% yes, we're going to see Batmite at some point, whether in Peacemaker or not. I mean, that could be one of the big things that we see in episode 6 or 8. That could be one of the big things that he's hiding from the critics and from everybody. Then we go into the dance sequence, bringing us into the episode, and we see Peacemaker is waking up from his night out in the other dimension, the best dimension ever, as he likes to call it. And while that's happening, Economos and Argus are plotting to infiltrate his home and find the QUC and shut it down and take him in to Rick Flag Sr., who, of course, this is all about, goes right back to Rick Flag Jr. and the death of Rick Flag Jr., Rick Flag Sr. wanting the revenge of his son's death by the hands of Christopher Smith. This was some of the stuff that I really, really enjoyed. Was Economos, Argus, infiltrating the door, getting in the door, knowing that he's the only one that can go there. We also got Red Saint Wild on the hunt for Eagly. And I'm going to say one thing right now. If Michael Rooker, if you get your hands on Eagly, if you take Eagly down, then somebody is going to have to get you a chocolate-covered pretzel, because I ain't having that. No one's having it. Eagly's going to survive the whole thing.
Hey, would you like a chocolate-covered pretzel? Oh.
We're learning more and more about the 11th Street Kids and their camaraderie and what they mean to one another. And this episode was really showing Economos' loyalty to his friend Peacemaker, He's the only one that can hack the code to get into the QUC in the closet. And we see throughout the episode, first he saves Eagly's life from the hands of Red Saint Wild by pushing him over as he's about to shoot the eagle down. And later we see him with the QUC. He says, I don't have time to stall, I have to break in there. And they're like, no, Peacemaker's like, please just stall. And so eventually he does stall. But later on in the episode, we see Rick Flag Sr. confront Harcourt, and he tells her that she's been blackballed from everything due to Waller. Waller's the one that did it. And she's arguing she doesn't understand. She didn't out Waller, but Waller needed somebody as a scapegoat. She can't go after her own daughter, so she chooses Harcourt as the one to go after. And as a result, she's been blacklisted from every government position she can think of, and so she will never get another job in her field ever again. And that's when Rick Flag Sr. says, hey, you know what? You bring in Christopher Smith, you bring in the Peacemaker to us, we might be able to get you your job back. And that's where you see the difference between Economos and Harcourt at this part in the story, of course, is that Economos has been incredibly loyal to the point where Rick Flag Sr. doesn't even trust him on his own phone anymore, and for good reason. He's been using it the whole episode to get a hold of Peacemaker and tell him what's up. But Harcourt caves the minute she finds out she can get a job. She sets up a date, or like a meet up, not a date, but a meet up with Peacemaker at a park, and she tells Argus and Rick Flag Sr. where she's going to be and where that meetup is going to, and you see the disappointment in Economos' face when he notices the betrayal that Peacemaker's trusted friend, Harcourt, does. She's not playing a game for anybody but herself. She's in it for herself at this point in time. I'm sure her character will grow over time, but for now, that's where it is. Let's rewind it right back now. So before all that, they're trying to get into Christopher Smith's house. Argus that is, and Chris Smith has woken up from the night before where he spent it in the best dimension ever, which probably is not going to be the best dimension ever whatsoever. In that time, Argus has been getting their strategy together, and Economos is texting. And I love the text. It's all full of like misspelled words and stuff. That's exactly how I text when I'm not looking either. It was very relatable for old people like me. And Peacemaker gets out of there. He has to bring Eagly out. He coerces him out with some lunch meats, gets him out of there. And that's when we have Argus finally getting into his house. Turns out Economos is the only one that can break open this lock, and that is why everyone has to put up with his nonsense, because he is smart enough to hack. He hacked the CIA when he was 14 years old, so he hacks into the system, but he's hoping that he gives enough time for Peacemaker to do whatever he has to do to figure it out. And while that's happening, Peacemaker gets ads to pick him up and drive him to a cabin in the woods from his childhood. He gets into that cabin where him and his family would go when they were hunting. He goes in there and opens up the portal that they got from Dead Dobby in the doorway, and that's when Ads finally sees the dimension, the realm, the QUC, what it is. She sees it. She can't really believe it. She does believe it. She doesn't believe anything Peacemaker tells her about what's happening in the other dimension. He finally confides in her what he saw, what he experienced. His brother's alive, his father's alive and loves him. The place is great. He had a romantic relationship with Harcourt at one point. She doesn't believe any of that. She thinks this is all trauma that he experienced earlier on. He's saying, no, it's real, it's real, it's real. That's when Vigilante comes and they're going to put a door on this new portal. So the portal goes up just in time. Economos' hacking works, but when Bordeaux opens the door, it's just a normal closet. That's when she calls Rick Flag, and he's like, but why would there be a keypad on a closet door? It doesn't make any sense. And he gets the idea that they need to go see Amelia Harcourt. Now, before he gets her to do the dirty work, which is the song from the trailer for the Suicide Squad, there's a scene between Rick Flag Sr. and Amelia Harcourt discussing Rick Flag Jr., the relationship with him and together and all that. And I thought this was one of the most well-written scenes we've had in Peacemaker that didn't rely on laughs. There's been funnier scenes, obviously, and there's been more action-packed scenes, but this scene I thought was really, really well done, really well acted. That's when you learn that she's been blackballed and all that, and they talk about Rick Flag Jr. and what she said at the funeral, because Rick Flag Sr. sees a picture of Harcourt with Peacemaker and the 11th Street Kids. He sees all that. He's trying to question her, and she's like, don't judge me based on that. Judge me for who you know I am, kind of thing. And I just thought that scene was really well done. I thought, kudos to James Gunn on that one, because it's not typical Peacemaker, that scene, but I just thought it was excellent. And that's one of the reasons why I thought I elevated it. And Frank Grillo, he really brought it for that. So this episode I thought was actually, even with Superman, I thought this was Frank Grillo's best performance as Rick Flag Sr. That's my opinion. That's how I felt about that. We got to see Judo Master in action, taking down Peacemaker, obviously unsuccessfully. Peacemaker thwarts his rival, but it's a really fun fight that happens in a forest with Eagly flying ahead and Ads coming to go pick up Peacemaker. But it was a lot of fun. That's the action. You get the humor, you get the action, all that. And Judo Master, just when he's on the screen, he's not my favorite character, but he's a lot of fun to watch. I love his Cheetos addiction and just the way he's a martial artist at heart, and he's a lot of fun. There was a good back and forth with Judo Master and Economos earlier on in the episode, where Economos reminded him of the events of season 1, and he said, I wish you were a corpse beside me. And then Judo Master's like, you want me to be a corpse? And it was a pretty fun little moment there. So the episode kind of ends similar to last week's episode, which is, hopefully this isn't something they keep falling back on, but Peacemaker, it looks like everything's coming crashing down on him, right? Last week, Argus approaching his house. This week, him driving to meet up with Harcourt. That's where the camera cuts to black. You don't know what's going to happen, but all of Argus is waiting for Peacemaker, waiting for his arrival right there. But just before that comes Michael Rooker, full Red Same Wild, performing a ritual to hunt down Eagly, astral projectioning. He finds out where Eagly is. So you find out that he's not full of crap. Economos thinks he's full of crap, but it turns out Red Saint Wild is the real deal, and he hunts eagles. And this is what he does, and he is going to get Eagly at all costs. But I will not allow it, but that is his mission of this. And Michael Rooker came to play in this one. I wasn't really sure what we were going to get. Like, Rooker's always great, but he just came to play on the post-credit scene. If you didn't watch the post-credit scene, it's a play on a scene earlier where he eats eagle poop, and he gets, it's kind of like a wine tasting, but with eagle poop. It made me chuckle. But look, this episode, again, the laughs were great, as always, but the hardcore Rick Flag senior scene, Peacemaker and Ads, they have in their like moment, you're learning more about her, and their relationship is getting really strong, which kind of maybe she's going to start going down the pathway we're not going to like so much. She is the daughter of Amanda Waller, after all, so we don't know where that's going. Hopefully that's not the case, but we're going to see, because they seem really tight right now, and I feel like things aren't going to be comfy cozy for much longer. But like I said, probably my favorite episode of the season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you make of it? What do you think of it? I'll have more episodes discussing some theory videos as well, because I am having a lot of fun with it. It is in the DCU. Who's coming up next week? Episode 5, and then we got the big episode 6 after that. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe button, and until next time, may be the master of your own universe.